We are the deal connectors, and we basically just provide a community to share experiences, wins, losses, mistakes. We don't consider ourselves as leaders, and we want to help you all grow with us, right alongside of us. 18 minutes a day is all we're asking for you to go and search for deals, go and search for private money lenders or private money partners, and bring them back to us, and we'll help you every step of the way through the process of what the deal looks like, underwriting, comping, and vetting the whole process. So if you can just take 18 minutes a day, you can go on your social media outside of Sub2 or Gator, looking for deals, looking for money. LinkedIn is a great resource. The Discord, we used to ask that you go to Discord, but Discord, even though it's not active anymore, there's still a lot of information on there where people can reach out and connect to people who did lend in the past or were wholesalers in the past that are looking for funding. It's a great resource for that avenue. Otherwise, just we tell you to go out and look for first, second position types of liens or lending opportunities, transactional funding like double closes, earnest money deposits, even though those are few and far between, we still get a few asks for those. We even help people find buyers to their wholesale deals, so we can even do that for you. Either way, this is what we are. We are the deal connectors. Feel free to post your wins, your losses, mistakes, ideas. Put out your Sub2 or your Gator meetups in your areas. Put it on the deal connectors. We have over 460 people now in the group, and we would love to have you guys share where your meetups are starting. Kevin has one in where are you at? You're not in Raleigh, are you?
Yeah, well, I'm Wake Forest, but just Raleigh. Yeah.
Okay.
Meetings in Raleigh.
Yep. We had one of our members, Manny. I don't know if Manny's on today, but Manny has one every other Saturday. We posted that in the group as well. But yeah, that's basically where we're at. Feel free, while we're going through our information tonight, to put your questions in the chat. Aiden, Jake, myself will kind of look through that to make sure that you get your questions answered. Feel free to raise your hand as well. And we'll go ahead and turn this over to Jade now. And we want to have, again, the preface for this call tonight with Jade is to help clarify the March 16th Zoom that Pace caused a lot of freakouts for everybody and nervousness about being a connector. So I'm going to let Jade take it over and let her give a little bit of introductory about herself and where she's at with the Gator program.
Hi guys, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here. Actually, I've not gotten to be on one of these yet, so I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much.
We're honored.
So fun. I did want to connect with you. I was super glad when you reached out to Tigger, because I have been on since March 16th. I have been on quite a few phone calls, email threads, Zooms, all sorts of things, trying to kind of sort out what Pace said and what Pace didn't say, what Pace inferred and what he did not infer, and all of the things to make sure that everyone really understood the messaging behind what he was saying. I know that there are people that are like, I'm done, never going to connect again. This is too much. And Pace's response to that was good. Like, if you feel that way, you should be done, because that means you're not willing to put in the work. So we want to have in the community the connectors and people that are willing to put in the work. And with connecting, it did kind of take off and take on a life of its own, right? Like, and it very quickly turned into people behaving as brokers. And that's what we have to avoid, because that requires special licensing and will get you in a boatload of trouble.
I was guilty of that myself.
Right. I mean, most every connector in here is like, unless you didn't start until after March 16th, you've probably done this in the past. And it's not that we're saying everyone that's done this is going to get kicked out of the community. You're not going to be here anymore. No, that's not it. We just know better now from the attorneys, and now we have to do better. And with a lot of things, we do step back and say, this is an education program and a community, but what you guys do in your business is yours, right? And that's definitely the approach that we take. If you want to be a really risky investor who like sends people money out of escrow and does all sorts of crazy things, like that's totally your prerogative. We're not going to tell you, I'm sorry, my window's open if that was really loud. We're not going to tell you how to run your business. Where we do have to draw a line is where it puts other people at risk and the community as a whole. So what happens when you have a massive community like ours, because between Gator, Sub 2, and Top Tier, we're over 18,000 members. That's a huge ripple in the real estate world. When we are doing something wrong, it causes a wave.
When I first joined, there was 3,200.
Right?
400 in Sub 2 and 700 in Gator.
And we've seen the impact in the real estate world. There's so many more agents doing creative finance now, so many more conversations around creative finance. We've seen the impact that our communities have within the real estate world, right? Like this community has an impact nationwide in real estate, which is so amazing. And it's a huge honor, super cool to do that. The problem is when we have lawyers reaching out to us going, hey, your community is causing red flags all over the US because they're acting like brokers. And we're like, oh, how do we not do that then? We thought this JV agreement covered us. So what do we need to do and what do we have to do to be in compliance and make sure that we are not positioning connectors as brokers?
Can I say that I think that's comforting for us out there to say that even you guys were like, what? Wait, what?
Yeah,
So,
we're like JV and it's cool. You're a partner, you're whatever. But as a partner, you have to bring substantial value. And if there were not laws and rules in place that required licensing to introduce people and get paid for it, then you could totally do that. But because there's laws in place that say, hey, in order to get paid for introducing two parties to each other to do business, you have to be a licensed broker. So for you to not be breaking that law, you have to bring a substantial value to the partnership that you're in agreement with. Substantial value, like Pace said, can be sweeping the floors. It really doesn't matter what you put into the agreement. What we'd like to see is something that makes sense. As a connector, what are your responsibilities? What are you going to do? And what are you not going to do? And so one of the things you can put there, I will help you find a lender. I will help you review closing docs. I will help you, XYZ. These are my responsibilities. And then some of the other things you can put is I will not personally guarantee your funds. You are the one investing. You are the one lending. I am not, and really draw some very clear boundaries. But they're on your side of it to protect your rear end needs to be some very specific things of what you are going to bring to the transaction and to the deal so that you're covered and that you're not behaving as a broker. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Would you have some verbiage that you can share with us that maybe you guys have already done? I think that's where it's getting a little confusing and clouded of what should we say, what should we not say? I mean, I guess it could be a living document, a living, breathing document. When something comes up, we can always add to it, which is fine. Do you have generalization of information that we can be shared?
I do. I think that, and this is going to vary from person to person, right? So every negotiation, and when you're connecting, it's, hey, Mr. Borrower, what do you need? What are you looking for in a lender? Hey, Mr. Lender, what do you need? And so it's going to be a little bit different based on each transaction. There's going to be some nuances. But for the most part, list out what you are going to do. I am going to help you, Mr. Borrower, find a lender, or Mr. Lender, I'm going to help you find a borrower. I'm going to review the deal and put it through my 3-step underwriting process, which looks for XYZ. If you want to be that specific, I am going to make sure that this fits your specific lending box that you've given me, Mr. Lender, whatever it may be. Basically just I will do this, which is look at the contract. I will introduce or find, not even introduce, I will help you find potential lenders, Mr. Borrower. I will help you find potential borrows, Mr. Lender, however you're going to write that.
Hey Jade, I'm Jay-Z. Nice to meet
Hi,
you.
nice to meet
Finally.
you.
So, question is that a separate JV agreement that we're going to be with the borrower, or is it the same JV agreement? We're going to use a JV agreement, put all this into that JV agreement. It's going to be sent into title, or how is that written up?
Yeah, you can put all three of you on there. You could put the lender and the borrower on there. You could do separate JV agreements, one with each of them, and just list out, hey, Mr. Borrower, these are the things I'll do. These are the things I won't do. Mr. Lender, these are the things I will do. These are the things I won't do. Or you can put it
And
all in one agreement. And so they both know these are the things that I, as a connector, will do for you. And these are the things I will not do.
And those two JV contracts will go to title.
Mhm.
Right. Okay. And that makes it legit, I assume, right?
So it is not a contract to the purchase contract. It's just guidance for title. It just covers your butt by sending it to title. You don't have to send it to title. What it does by sending it to title, it timestamps and date stamps when you sent it to title, so you can prove that was the agreement you entered into when that transaction was actually happening. This is not an agreement that you forged documents on and said 2 years later, oh yeah, I did this thing. This is the agreement that we had. So that's why I would send it to title. It's not so much that title is like, cool, you're not acting as a broker. Title doesn't care if they're gonna turn you in. Yeah, I mean, they're not the police. They don't
But if
really.
something were to go wrong, God forbid, right? If something were to go wrong, now you have some legal status to show, hey,
Yes.
look, this is what I get it now. Okay,
Right.
cool.
Not only do you have the document, but you have proof that that document was truly prepared and sent to title during the time of the transaction. Now, DocuSign does that at times and date stamps things when you sign them as well. I just like that, like, my mom's a graphic artist, and I'll tell you what, my brother has had some not real paycheck stubs made and for loans and purposes and things like that. And I have seen what people do in that world. And so you could create a DocuSign that looks like, and granted the authenticity is not there and there's some investigation that would have to be done, but I am a play by the rules person when it comes to laws. I do not need to end up in prison for something as stupid as altering a DocuSign document. So I would email it because then I have the email time and date stamp as well. And then there's that proof as well. And that really can't be doctored. Like if you go to my email log, like you can't doctor that kind of stuff. And legal and emails are considered legal documents.
There's a
Yeah, I
question
just wanted to answer that question just so everybody can know that it is a JV that we got to fill out.
Right. So with everything, there's always a good, better, best, right? There's a good way to be a connector. There's going to be a better way to be a connector, and there's going to be a very best way to be a connector. And I think from Pace's conversation on Saturday, it was very much, this is what the very best way to be a connector is. The best way would be that when you introduce someone, you're going to stay part of the transaction no matter what, right? That's good. To beat the bare minimum and stay in the community, you're going to stay in the whole transaction. You're going to be the liaison between the two parties that you've introduced. You're going to help be that neutral third party.
Oh,
Oh, shoot.
there you are.
Am I back?
You're back.
I apologize, guys. Tech gremlins and my internet today. Whew, it's rough. I need to move.
You're all good.
What did you hear last? I'm so sorry.
What did we hear last? I think you were, Pace was saying,
You're going to be part of the whole transaction, right?
Yep.
Okay, so good and acceptable to stay in the group is staying through the whole transaction. That's the bare minimum, and writing and listing out what your substantial value in the transaction is. That's the bare minimum. So that's your good. Your better would be to complete a JV agreement and list out exactly what you're going to do, have all parties sign it, turn it into title, protect your butt, all of those things. Your very best that he was recommending and saying what he would do as a connector would be to create the JV agreement, even go as far as combining into the LLC, putting it into the operating agreement, who's going to do what, and following that up with obviously the very detailed JV agreement that then gets transferred into the operating agreement. He would go as far as personally guaranteeing the funds himself. As a connector, that's what he would do. If he's being paid to be part of a transaction, he would guarantee the funds himself. That is not to say that everyone has to operate at best level, right? You just have
But threw everybody off, like, what?
yes, that's what made everything come to a screeching halt and say, wait, if I was going to be the PML, I'd just be the PML. If I was, if I was going to be the lender, I'd just be the lender. Most connectors, not all, don't shoot me for saying this. Most connectors work as a connector as a way to be in the business before they have the funds to be in the business, right? And some like it and they stay there, and some that's just what they like, so that's what they do. It's not that they don't have funds, but for the most part, if you had the funds, you'd be the lender and make the big bucks, right? That's at least the feedback I get and what I see.
Exactly.
So most connectors aren't going to be able to personally guarantee the funds.
Right.
You don't have to. You just have to put in your agreement that you're not going to personally guarantee the funds. But you do also have to list what you are going to do that brings substantial value and allows you to be part of the transaction and be paid without being viewed as a broker.
So the operating agreement.
Operating agreement's a great way to do it too.
But operating agreement, I thought was standard for being in an LLC together. You're
is.
saying, okay, so you're saying, where's this operating agreement coming in?
You would have to form an LLC.
Okay, so
that is a strategy that's going to give you the very most protection and the very most like highest level, best of the best, absolute fire.
okay,
Just below that, you're going to do a really detailed JV agreement and send it to title. Just below that is going to be do a JV agreement, make sure you're very clear about what you're going to do and what you're not going to do. You just have to cover your butt.
Yeah, and that better strategy, personally, I think it would work better. I mean, we do a JV agreement with everything that we do, right? Everybody we help. And I think just adding verbiage, and we've got a great guy by the name of Kevin over here who's able to kind of put all that together for us. So I think it's just a matter of verbiage, which doesn't seem complicated at all. I agree with Tiggy though. I went through everything off. For me, when I listened, I was like, what? I've got, to cover the funds or, those things. It just sounded worse than it is. Yeah. But, so I really, really appreciate you coming on here and clarifying that.
And even like I was on the call when it was happening, I'm like, oh, it's going to hit the fan because Pace said, this is what I would do, but nobody ever hears this is what I would do. They hear you're going to get kicked out of the group if you, and then they insert the thing that scared them the most out of whatever you said.
I have to pay back somebody's
law. Or like, wait, why do I have to guarantee funds? He was saying he would do that if he was acting as a connector, but you have to realize Pace is in a different position than most of our connectors. And he does connections now that he doesn't even get paid on anymore. Like he just is, whatever, you do your thing. If you make some money, great. But at this point, he's at a point where he can't even open his mouth and say someone else's name without the person he said it to truly feeling that he is responsible for everything they do with that person. So if he says like, hey, Tigger's great, and then someone goes and does a deal with Tigger and loses $100,000, they come back to him and they're like, Pace, you should pay me $100,000 because you said Tigger was great.
Yeah.
And it's like, somehow there's this massive culpability on his side for even saying somebody's name. And that's what we don't want it to turn into, right?
When it was 2,400 people in sub 2, it was okay. Now there's almost 14,000 where that's not so much okay anymore. Like,
and you're seeing connectors that have some bad deals coming back. And it's not that the deals were bad deals. There's a difference between bad deals and bad dealings, right? There's bad deals that it just didn't work out well. The borrower wasn't who they thought they were or who they pretended to be. That's a bad deal. Something didn't go right. The house burned down. It doesn't matter what it was. Something happened. But you as a lender are secured somewhere. You're secured against the property. You're secured against the actual, like, whatever it may be. There, you have recourse. And there's bad dealings where like Tigger knows I'm not going to pay somebody back. She knows that, she's heard some crap about me. She's seen some loans go south with me. And then she still turns around and connects me to Aiden. hey, Aiden, you should totally lend Jade money. And I'm going to connect you. So you're going to pay me too. And then she knows I'm going to skip town and run with that money. And they're never going to hear from me again. That's where we're not going to tolerate things, obviously. And the other thing he was talking about was no matter where you are in the transaction, whether you're the seller, the buyer, the connector, the TC, the closing attorney, whoever it is, pick a person in the transaction, doesn't matter who it is, you all have your own scope of due diligence to do. If you're the connector, your due diligence is Mr. Buyer who needs to borrow funds. You know, are you running a background check? Are you doing a credit check? What are you doing to vet this person? Are you talking to people they've done deals with in the past? Are you talking to other PMLs they might have worked with? What kind of vetting system do you have? Is it just an interview? Is it just that you're underwriting the deal that they have and knowing how to secure the lender into it to make them safe? Like, you have to determine those things, but you do have due diligence to do. And it goes to the same side. When you're connecting a lender, does this person actually have funds? Can you talk to someone whose deals they've actually funded? Because we've seen lovely videos of proof of funds going around on how to create your own proof of funds and all sorts of things. Well, are you working with and vetting lenders who actually have money, and they're not going to get to the day of closing for your borrower and have the lender go, oh, I don't really have money. I have an IRA and it's still not going to be here for 2 more days. Like, that's a big deal. Those are things you should know. So there's due diligence for the connectors that they actually do need to do. And those things should be in your JV agreement. These are the things I'm going to do. I'm going to vet borrowers based on who they've done deals with at least 3 references with good reports from the last 12 months. And on the lending side, I'm going to vet this lender and collect a proof of funds and make sure that they're prepared for this and, you know, XYZ. So that you're covered. That's a substantial value. If you were going to vet the lender that you're bringing me and make sure that they actually have funds, I'm a happy bird because I don't know how to do that. I'm just the borrower, right? I just need the money.
I think it's important too, like you're saying, you have to understand what the lender needs, because if a lender is doing business credit and it's a credit card that's 0% interest for 12 months, and you know somebody's looking to have a deal put in for 6 months and it goes 8 months and then they still have to have payments. You know, Abraham Gray talks about doing interest only payments until 6 months when they balloon it out and be done with the whole transaction.
Yep.
So yeah, it's really important to also vet that lender on what their criteria is and how length of time and you know what kind of returns they're looking for.
Like, I understand borrowers, you may have some repeat borrowers, but for the most part, they're probably going to be one and done a little bit. I mean, with wholesalers, you might have more, but with lenders, like with wholesalers, okay, what range of money do they normally need? Are you looking at between 100,000 and 500,000? Are you looking upward of $1 million? You know, what is their box of money that they need to borrow? And then on the lender side, what is the box they're willing to lend? Like, you should know if your lender is capable of lending up to $1 million, or are they, you know, nothing above 500,000? That's where they're comfortable. You should have you should have a true relationship with them, and you should check in with them and update that relationship as often as it takes, whether that be every 30 days, every 90 days, however that looks for you, where you do know that lender, you really are partners, you really are helping them find deals to lend on that fit their business needs and their box.
Absolutely. Larry has his hand up. Larry, you have a question?
Hey Jade, how are you?
Hi, Larry. How are you?
Great. So what about, like, I've been doing is referring deals into their portal, or what do you call that, Tigger?
Yeah, portal.
Yes. So like I've been doing that. I also do that with Kevin. So his Kevin and EMD with Kevin.com. So every time I refer somebody, I get 25% of every time they borrow something, Kevin. Is that, I'm not in the deal, but I'm getting a referral, is that illegal?
My realtor hat says yes, that is illegal. In order to be paid for not being a party to the transaction, you have to have some kind of licensing. So referral fees get a little sticky. And actually I had this question earlier today and I'm like, I'm going to have to call Sean St. Clair and have this specific discussion about referral fees. I know even for an agent, a licensed real estate agent, to get a referral fee, there is very specific guidelines they have to follow to get a referral fee. So my gut with my realtor hat on, granted, I am no longer a realtor. This call is recorded and you guys are all hearing me say that. I am no longer a realtor. But I still have that hat because I went through school and I did the thing and I know the rules and there's this knee-jerk spidey sense thing that goes off with referral fees that I'm like, ugh. If it were me, I wouldn't do it. If you're going to do it, I mean, that's on you. But I am going to have a conversation with Sean St. Clair about it and just ask him what his thoughts on that are. I just don't know. I cannot give you a definitive answer other than to say my gut is telling me it's probably not a good idea and it probably still puts you in some amount of being looked at as a broker or positioning yourself as
Well,
a broker.
couldn't it be like an affiliate link or something though?
It could if you had an affiliate agreement that said you were going to get paid a certain percentage every time you referred someone or every time you sent someone to that link. That's a totally different thing. Kevin should set up an
Could we do
affiliate.
that?
Yes, 1000% you can do that.
I think I am an affiliate with them. That's because they just say, just here, this is the link, and you just say you're referred by Larry.
So to my understanding, affiliate links are the way to get around needing a license or being viewed as a broker.
Okay. You can do that.
So if you guys think about it, real estate agents on their own, they have to hold a license, but they still can't operate or do business without being under a broker.
Right.
So even a licensed agent can't get a referral fee without having their license hung and be active with a broker. So Joe Blow off the street definitely should not be doing that, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
That would come into where if we were brokers as a connector, we would have the errors and omissions insurance.
exactly.
So, yeah.
You're held to a different standard. There's different rules. That's why you have to be licensed. It's like TC's not having a law degree. I cannot fill out a contract for you because I am not a lawyer and I'm not an agent. And the only way to fill out real estate agreements in all 50 states legally is to be a licensed agent or a licensed attorney. Like I can't get around that. I can get around it in different ways. Like I can send you a fillable form and you can fill it out. I can have a Zoom with you where you walk through and you tell me everything to put in and I put it in. I mean, there's ways to get around it, but black and white, if you're only looking at black and white, a TC cannot fill out legal document on your behalf. And it's the same thing with connectors. Legally, you cannot collect a fee for being part of a transaction unless you brought substantial value to the transaction. If all you're doing is an introduction, you are literally positioning yourself as a broker, and that is illegal. Hey, Jackson.
Interesting. Thanks, Jade.
Hi, Jade.
You're welcome. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, cool. Nice to meet you. This is my first one on this Zoom.
You as well. Me too.
Cool. Yeah. Anyways, so I had a question about why that's different with like AlphaGator is an affiliate link, and we introduce people to AlphaGator, say go fill out your pre-application and prosper, I guess.
Because it's an affiliate link, and for
why that's
for whatever reason, I'm sure this is actually exactly why affiliate links were set up and why this affiliate thing came to life. What, 10-ish years ago, 5-10 years ago? Because there are laws and rules around what you can or cannot get paid for, referral fees, consulting fees, all sorts of things that position you in the eyes of the law as something you are not. They say you are pretending to be, it's like pretending to be a cop. Like you can't, there's just certain things you can't pretend to be or act as if you are. And so affiliates, there are programs and you sign up. I don't know if you've ever read any of your affiliate agreements, but they're usually a couple of pages long with really, really fine print. And it's all the reasons why they are allowed to pay you and how they're getting around. It's the legal loopholes that they are using to get around calling it a referral fee.
In order to do that too, though, you have to fill out the W-9 or whatever
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, you're technically like a 1099 with them. You're actually viewed somewhat as an employee that they are paying a percentage of. They don't owe you a paycheck, but they're paying you a percentage of certain things.
Okay,
It's literally just legal loopholes for referral fees.
gotcha. It's a bunch of legalese that makes it so we can't refer or broker, but we can be affiliates of.
Yeah, it's like when you have private money lenders and you have usury laws, so they break it down and they're like, okay, I'm only going to charge this in a percentage, but then I'm going to charge an origination fee or a document fee or an admin fee. Like they start breaking up how they're going to charge it. And you'll have a title company's like, you can't call it an admin fee. That implies that, or a doc fee, that implies that there is an origination that needs to be done. And that creates a totally different animal. So words matter. I don't know if we were on this call the other day where I said, I would never, I've been told by my CPA, never put the word consulting on anything. Do not ever put that you are a consultant or that you are behaving as a consultant or that you are consulting for this kind of fee. He's like, it's just not going to end well for you. Like it creates different rules. And he's like, he knows my whole world of finances, right? So he's like, just don't do that. My world of finances is different than yours. So I'm not saying you should never use that word, but anytime you are using certain words, I would talk to either an attorney or a tax consultant or CPA on what wording you should or should not use. I know.
So I think we've been using consulting fee on all our invoices.
Yeah, I thought that was
Which could be totally fine.
Yeah.
I own a salon and I do hair. I do really high-end extensions, and I was calling certain things consulting fees when I would have a first meeting with someone. And he's like, nope, for whatever reason in the salon world, I do not want to be viewed as a consultant. That is not great for my tax strategy.
Wow. See? We learned something else.
But then I don't know, maybe he's just a crazy CPA and that's just his opinion, right? I mean, you get a home inspector and you have one that's like, this is the rule. And I'm like, no, that's your opinion. I actually know the rule. That's an opinion. You just like that. That's the good, better, best, right? He's like, I want it done the best way. This thing really bothers me. It's like the thorn in his side. And I'm like, cool, but I'm just fine with it being here as long as it passes. Like, I don't really care.
Well, and who's to say that we didn't consult on a property and said, yeah, looks good. Yeah, this is a great, we did our due diligence or whatever, and yeah, looks like a great deal. Have at it.
But in some states, if you said I consulted on a property, are you now liable for what the lender lent on or what the borrower borrowed on?
Ooh.
Possibly in the eyes of the law, if you said you consulted on it, maybe you have a culpability there. I have no idea. I don't want to find out.
No, I don't.
I would just ask. I'd ask an attorney who is somewhat.
Only if you made money.
Right. If you.
You're not culpable for anything that you did not get paid for.
There you go.
You can say whatever the hell you want. I can be the biggest jackass in the world and I can say whatever I want.
But as soon as you put it on
Unless
an
somebody
invoice-
loses money or makes money off it, then that changes everything.
Yes. So if you're listing it on an invoice as a fee, there might be some culpability there. You might want to talk to an attorney and just make sure.
all right.
I just am one of those people, guys. I don't like surprises. So if I am going to do something, I want to do the upfront work and find out what my liability is going to be. So, hey, Mr. Attorney, if I put this on my invoice, when I invoice someone for TC services, if I put consulting, is that going to get me in trouble? Is there any liability that I'm opening myself up to with that? And see what they say.
Cool.
Because
thank
consulting in the world of real estate would be very different than consulting in the world of finance. Like the same word can be neutral in one forum and create liability in another. So I'd just be careful. And I, you know, that rubber stamp of always seek legal advice.
I don't suppose you know what SEC regulations he was referring to for, for the referral fee is a broker unless, or, the exceptions to the rule, or where do we find that information so we can do a deep
The
dive?
Attorney General would probably be the best place to look. To my understanding, if you are being paid in a transaction, even if it is only $1, and you are not bringing value to the transaction beyond introducing people, you have positioned yourself as a broker.
Gotcha. Okay.
So even if you only made $1, you have the same culpability as if you made $100,000 or $1 million. It's if you get paid. To my understanding, there is not an amount. It does not matter how much you got paid. It's the fact that you got paid. Curtis, so affiliates are a formal partnership with a structured program to some degree. I really don't understand the ins and outs of how affiliates get around it. And every affiliate is probably a little bit different. I just know it's the legal loopholes, essentially, for getting paid for something that you are not actually party to. But also affiliates aren't real estate. They're for a product typically, or a service, which is a little bit different as well.
Anybody else have any other questions?
This started so fun, and now I feel like I'm the bearer of bad news.
No, not at all. I think you're helping us out, like clarify a breath of relief, because we were all like, what did he just say?
Yeah.
I'm not paying back anything. I don't have that money.
And really, one of the things I would suggest is if like Tigger, you've done this in the past where you're like, that's all I did was introduce people and I got paid. Like,
Yeah.
how often are you guys checking in on those relationships? Like if you're a connector, are you checking in with those people every 90 days, every 6 months? Like keeping that relationship alive and back and forth. And like, if they do run into an issue, like offer to call. You might not have had anything in writing back then, but like if they're reaching out to you saying, hey, Mr. Borrower is no longer paying me, or my payments due today, yesterday, whatever day, and I haven't gotten paid. Do you know anything? Can you help me here? You should be helping them. Even if you had nothing in writing, you should be helping them. You're the one that connected them. You did get paid for your services. And I would hold myself to the same thing you're going to hold yourself to now, even though it's retro. It's in the past. You're still going to hold yourself accountable to the same things, even though it's not in writing from back then.
Even before all this came out, I really wanted to go above and beyond and to do this before, like, we started talking about this. It's kind of like my dad back in the day. He'd say, if you borrowed something, you give it back in better shape than what you received it at. And so that's what I wanted to make myself stand out, is provide that service of making sure everybody's on board, where we are at in the process of everything. And so this was already in my mind before we started having this legality problem with this.